Have you ever seen a movie and thought to yourself, someone believed in this? Someone thought this was a good idea. This episode, we're talking about one of those movies.
Welcome to Hollywood, where crimes are made of.
Welcome to Good Times with Bad Movies. I'm your host, Paul Ireland. With me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Tim Morrison. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing, Paul?
I'm really excited because it's taken a long time to get to this point, actually. So, little inside baseball. It's we've had a little bit of downtime here in between episodes, and we watched this a couple weeks ago. And it's not talking about this has been like holding in a sneeze. So, sorry, before we start, I guess I'll just tee things up quickly here and I'll just tell you what we're talking about. So we're talking about 2019's The Fanatic. It's from Fred Durst and they released it on Netflix. It's from VMI Worldwide, Pretzel Fang, Primal Farm, Quiver Distribution, Media Finance, The Wonder Film, and I'm pretty sure Redbox got in on this too. That's how many people it took to finance this movie. So without even saying anything about it, like that should already kind of set the stage.
I think it's worth mentioning that when you said Fred Durst, we are talking about the lead singer of Limp Bizkit.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Fred Durst.
This man directed a movie.
That's right. He directed a movie with John Travolta.
John Travolta agreed to be in Fred Durst's movie.
Okay, so from what I found online, this movie, not that it's important, but it cost around $18 million allegedly. It grossed $3,100 on the opening day. That's it. So, and I don't know how you sell this to Netflix, but apparently they decided it was worth investing in.
Well, Netflix is pretty notorious for picking up like the low-rated movies, like movies that were like out around blockbuster seasons that didn't actually make any money. Because I think it's probably because of that, it's probably cheap for Netflix to pick them up and just play the movie, right?
I bet you Fred Durst at the end of the day, he probably paid them to take this movie. This is, okay, so before we start, maybe I'll give you a quick synopsis. It's about a rabid film fan who stalks his favorite action hero and destroys his star's life. And that's what I found online anyways. And it's kind of that, but it's not really.
No.
Yeah, so, okay, so I really want to start talking about this. But before we start,
the way John Travolta's character is presented to us in this movie is that we really don't know what his diagnosis is. But I think it's fair that this movie wants us to assume that he is somebody with a mental or intellectual disability. He would be an adult that his cognitive functions are basically that of a teenager, and he's very awkward. So that's what we know about it without actually getting a diagnosis as to what he's supposed to be.
When we go through this movie here, and we're talking about what John Travolta does as his character named Moose, we just want to make sure that everyone knows, like, so no one gets their britches in a bunch. Like, we are not laughing at somebody who was autistic. We're laughing at the idea that John Travolta, who is by most people's regards an A-list celebrity, dressed up in I gotta say it, he's wearing a mullet, a Hawaiian shirt, and he's running around through this entire movie ad-libbing like insane dialogue. Okay, John Travolta has starred in Pulp Fiction, Grease, Saturday Night Live, Face Off, Urban Cowboy. Like, he's been in a ton of movies here. Okay, he has an airport attached to his house. That is how successful this man is. Okay, and he thought that he would take this script and make this a compelling character that was interesting, and it's insane, honestly.
I just had a thought.
Yes.
Just give me a moment to look this up. How old is John Travolta?
I don't know. I gotta say, John Travolta is probably like mid to late 60s, if not like early 70s. Like, he's got to be up there, right?
John Travolta is 66 years old. So at 65 years of age, he decided to do this movie.
I'm totally going to talk about this later because I have done some research, Tim, and I have found some information for you. I plumbed the depths of the internet. I've tried to, at least, and I found a couple things on this, and that's all I'm going to say right now. So that being said, We just want to say that and get that out of the way.
The majority of our laughs in this movie are going to be seeing John Travolta act the way he does in this movie. It's not laughing at the actual disability of the character.
Yes. So with that being said, let's just start talking about this. And so basically here, when the movie starts, we're kind of just going over the city, and you're going to see a lot of this. It's like B-roll footage of just Los Angeles that we're going through here over the night, whatever. Fred Durst is not, he's a really, honestly, I hate to say it, he's a really shitty filmmaker.
Yeah. So yeah, they're just looking at random dingy places in Hollywood. This one isn't the montage yet. So this is the first intro. We see our main character, Moose, that's played by John Travolta. He is on his moped with a ton of traffic behind him, and he is just rocking on his moped while we have a narrator, a female narrator, who is actually a character later in the movie. And here's what she says. Los Angeles, I call it the city of bullshitters, but who am I to judge? I fucking live here too. This place will suck the life out of you. Some people pick themselves up after getting the shit kicked out of them. Others break down like an old station wagon. We can try and put off the inevitable, but everything breaks down eventually. Even a person's spirit. Except for Moose. Moose is unbreakable.
You know when they say like, when you see a car crash, it's one of those things that you it's horrible, but you can't look away.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this was.
Yeah.
John Travolta is just going nuts in this movie here. And then so after we get this weird narration and this weird scene from John Travolta scooting down Hollywood, we get this artwork. And let me ask you, do you know who drew the artwork for this? This is like this weird acid trip looking.
Okay, I assumed that this was Fred Durst.
Close, but no cigar. It's Wes Borland. He drew all the animation for this.
Okay. So this is you know what? It makes sense that this isn't just a Fred Durst project. This is a Limp Bizkit movie. Wes Borland is the guitar player for Limp Bizkit, for those who don't know. Yeah,
basically, if you were Wes Borland, took acid and drew a chalk, that's kind of what the drawings are. I don't know how to explain this, but Moose looks horrible. The drawing of Moose looks pretty ghastly. It's a very disturbing drawing. It's almost like a horror movie.
So we might as well point out that these images come up about 2 or 3 times in the movie, where it's just like a drawing of kind of a vague drawing of what's to come. And in this one, this particular drawing was a picture of a man on a scooter, which you understand to be Moose here soon, with a jacket on that says Rico.
Maybe you want to set up, Tim, some of this stellar dialogue.
Yeah, so Moose is walking into a Hollywood autographs and posters store where people kind of trade and collect barters for, novelty items in Hollywood. Anyways, he knows the cashier there because I guess he has a scoop on autograph signings and stuff going on here soon. And Moose is showing up to say hello.
I can't talk too long. I gotta poo.
Yeah, that's the first line. And the guy says, okay.
I can't talk too long. I gotta poo. It's like
66-year-old John Travolta.
Okay, you know what? Okay, so I first saw this when it came out on Netflix in like 2019. And I remember just watching a little bit of this with my wife. I think we only made it about 10 minutes in and she made me turn this off. But I remember watching it. And when I saw this line, I burst out laughing and I thought to myself, oh my God, I wish I had a podcast so I could talk to somebody about this movie. Honest to God, because I knew it was going to be so insane.
When you mentioned doing this one to me as a possibility, I think I said to you, I've seen clips of this movie. I would never, ever watch this intentionally on my own just to see. Even as a lover of bad movies, I was like, this looks absolutely insane, like a different realm of kind of bad that I've never experienced before.
He's got a mullet. It's like a really, really high and tight Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, the makeup and costume designs for this character are insane. But here's a thing that we should say too. I get the impression, you'll be able to tell us about this later on, but I get the impression that John Travolta actually researched this role. Like, while I have to say I can't get past that this movie is offensive to near no end at some parts. Does.
Oh, absolutely.
John Travolta does have moments where he is actually being a good actor in some kind of a way here. He is not acting like John Travolta or any of his other roles. He's committed.
You know what? That's a good way to explain this. He's very committed to this.
So Moose shows up to the Hollywood poster store. He's showing up because he has news. Even though he has to poop, he has some news that he's going to share before he has to really go and poop, right? And the news is that he has a lead on a Hollywood celebrity party that's taking place in somewhere here in LA. And he's telling him, he's like, I'm pretty sure that Hunter Dunbar, his favorite actor, is going to be there. And the guy's like, oh yeah? Well, Hunter Dunbar is doing an autograph signing here tomorrow. Moose is like, what? How could you not have told me that? He's like, well, you're the Moose. You're the chocolate Moose. You should know these things. And he's like, well, I didn't know. So he needs something to sign.
And it just so happens that this guy has a very sweet collectible from one of his movies. I forget what it's called, Vampire Hunters or Night Killers or something like that, right?
I'm pretty sure it's called Space Vampires.
Okay, sure. And it's a leather jacket that has the name Rico rhine-studded on the back of this jacket. I guess they're rhinestones. They're like spikes and weird little shiny. They're like sequins or something. And it's a leather vest that Rico wore, or I guess that Hunter Dunbar wore as Rico in Space Vampires. So Moose barters with him, and he gets a jacket off him for $300. And then this was the other part of the movie when I was like, I wish I had somebody to talk to about this movie, because my wife sure as hell didn't want to talk to me about it. But Moose,
I know exactly what you're going to say. Little things like this.
Yes, he now leaves the store with this vest. He's doing like a crisscross thing with a leather vest.
Yeah, the back of the vest is on his front, and on his back it's parted.
Yes, and the front, he's just walking down the street with this leather vest on, and it just says Rico, and he stops by his moped and takes a picture.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. Like, John Travolta's committed to the acting here. Like, he is very nervous. He's like walking down the street, like scratching his neck, looking around nervously, and like kind of puttering along. Like, this movie is so much awkward in your face.
Could you imagine though, if you were walking down Hollywood Boulevard and you just saw John Travolta scooting down the road with a vest on backwards that said Rico and a little bike helmet?
What is John Travolta doing now? What movie is he in now?
What is this, right? Yeah.
So here's a little bone of contention I've had with this movie. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, he's got the Rico jacket on backwards. He's mopeding down the street. Tons of traffic behind him. And now we have another intro. This movie has 2 intros. So now we're seeing a montage with more like credits. The credits started again, and we get a second intro.
Yeah. I don't think Fred Durst has ever seen a movie before. I think that's really what we're taking away from this every time we talk about this.
Yeah. And this intro doesn't even have anything. It has a bunch of fake scenes from Hunter Dunbar's fake movies.
It's not even a bunch of scenes though. It's like 2 scenes.
Yeah, it's like him just smiling and stuff. It's like he's not actually doing any even action scenes or any scene from a movie. There's just like him smiling and posing. Fred
never really created like a world for Hunter Dunbar as far as films or like any kind of backstory, probably because it would have cost too much for him. But yeah, it really shows in everywhere we go in this movie, and it's so painful.
I also want to point out at this point too, the soundtrack for this movie sounds just like Stranger Things. They took the soundtrack from Stranger Things and just put it in this movie. Like it's a sci-fi thing. It's very off, kind of like not fitting music. With that said, I don't know what soundtrack you'd use to make this.
It was weird. It was like, it was unsettling. It was almost like the soundtrack to Uncut Gems to me. It was just weird and like laser synth and awkward. Yeah. And it just like, it was, I didn't know, for the movie, it's just, this whole movie makes you really feel dirty. So now we go back to Moose's house, and Moose has posters all over his wall. Most of these are like weird horror posters, I guess, and sci-fi movies.
I tried to look. Most of them aren't even real movies.
No, it's all like fake movies. I'm pretty sure Fred Durst just thought these would be fun, cool movies, but
yeah,
They are weird, I guess. I don't know what this is. This is weird. But Moose is just kind of in front of the mirror and he's practicing for when he meets Hunter Dunbar and what he wants to say to him and the things he's going to talk to him about.
Yeah. And the things that he talks about is like, hi, Mr. Dunbar. I love your movies. Oh, yeah. And the jacket too. I have one of those jackets. Yeah. And he's just talking to himself. It kind of reminds me of the Joker a little bit. Like when Art was just like dancing by himself and like kind of having these little inner monologues and shit. It's kind of like that.
So Moose leaves and he's put on his best Hawaiian shirt and he's got his backpack and he's going out now and he's going to go to the party to meet Hunter Dunbar. And he meets this reporter friend of his.
Well, I think she's a paparazzi, I assume. Like she's just kind of like a freelance, not even freelance. She's just like a paparazzi, right?
Yes, I think she's a paparazzo / she freelances pictures and stuff like that. It looks like, but mostly of celebrities.
Yeah, she's friends with Moose.
So Moose meets up with Leah in the back of this alley, trying to get into this restaurant to break in. So she helps him over the fence, and he gets in.
But she lifts him up over, and he like falls on the other side and just walks into this party like it's like he belongs there.
Yeah, it's crazy because everyone's wearing suits and ties and nice clothes, and there's Moose with his it's a horror, it's like a Dracula famous monsters kind of Hawaiian shirt, and he's walking around and he's just sampling food, and
he's like not clean shaven at all, like the complete opposite of clean shaven. He's very unkempt and untidy. So he goes up to the bar to get a drink and fit in, and he asks for a strawberry milkshake with real ice cream.
Yeah, so Moose finds after he saunters around for a bit. He finds this girl Amanda, and I guess she was in the movie that Hunter Dunbar was in, and apparently he's supposed to be at this party. So Moose kind of talks to her for a bit and finds out that apparently Hunter's not there. He's got some family stuff going on, and he won't be there. It's at that point that he now asks Amanda for an autograph, and security kind of sees what's going on here. They see, now they kind of realize, wait, who is this guy in the vampire Hawaiian shirt that's just kind of standing here in this party? And so they go over to him, they kind of talk to him, and they end up dragging Moose out and throwing him out. And
the whole time as he's being thrown out, he's screaming Leah's name, the girl that helped him over the fence to get into this Hollywood party.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, totally blowing her cover. So the next day, we're back at Moose's apartment, and Leah shows up and kind of chews him out and says, like, what are you doing, man? You can't be busting in on parties like that. You would think she would kind of maybe she wouldn't know Moose. Maybe this is the first time that this has happened with Moose. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They haven't really set up if he's had a past before of stalking people or showing up and being maybe overzealous, shall we say, towards celebrities. So now we're going to go to the nighttime. And, I was kind of thinking, anyways, what does Moose do for a living?
What is Moose's job? How does he survive?
How does he sustain himself? Exactly. How does he do this, right?
Well, we get John Travolta in a mirror as Moose preparing for a night of work.
That's right. So it turns out that Moose works on Hollywood Boulevard. I guess it's Hollywood Boulevard, somewhere around there, where people show up dressed as entertainers, celebrities, or just, I guess, in costume, and they do shows as well. And Moose is getting ready for the night. I guess I'll just set this up here. Moose, I guess we come back to this a couple times. Moose is just in this bathroom where I don't know where this is. Maybe it's a restaurant. Maybe it's just someplace in the side of the road. Or maybe it's a gas station. I don't know. But it's a fairly large bathroom. And he's just kind of standing in front of the sink. And he's putting on a costume of an English bobby, or an English policeman, you would call them. And he's got the hat and everything. And Moose is warming up here. And let's just say that. Moose is warming up here.
Poppycock. Poppycock.
Yeah. Poppycock. Dude. When I first watched this, when that scene came on, I was legitimately like, what? And he looks like he's in like a public restroom, and he's just like buttoning up his uniform, going, Poppycock.
Poppycock.
I was like, what the hell? What the hell is going on right now? What is he doing?
After I watched this movie, I seriously walked around my house for probably about 3-4 days just yelling, Poppycock. Poppycock.
The thing about this is that, like, Okay, so he's preparing for his night of work, rehearsing in the mirror. In the movie, he is rehearsing and then does lines in the street. It's kind of like sided with him. It's him rehearsing in the mirror, spliced with him actually performing these routines on the street. This goes on for like 3 minutes.
I will say, this is one part of the score I did like. It was weird, like, I don't know how to explain it. Weird, sort of just jazz filled drums, like drum fills that were just like, and that kind of went with the chaotic, the chaotic life on the streets and stuff. And that actually sort of made sense. That's the only one part I think in this movie that sort of made sense. Anywhere, really. I think this was the only one good choice that Fred Durst has, was putting this weird little music in there. It really suits it. And so, yeah. And so, Moose is just doing really weird British accents, and he's just talking to people and not really accosting them on the streets, but he's dancing around and sort of, you know, doing his impressions for them.
Yeah, put on a show. And his impressions, his accents are intentionally bad. Like by John Travolta doing these just to fit his character. So he's saying like, "Oh, is that the Queen?"
Yeah, come say the Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles are here. The weird thing is about this too. Do you think like, is this what's going on in LA? Like, is there just someone like so? Is he just a busker?
I don't know. I should have asked. I know someone that spent some time around there, and I should have asked. But I will say, I know that it is common for people to show up and set up and do stuff like that. Maybe not exactly that, but you know, like dress up as Spider-Man, Batman, do shows. And there was also in Toronto, there's a guy who used to paint himself up silver, and he would kind of stand like a robot, and every maybe hour or so he would kind of move a bit and stuff. So I think that it's just a character. I think it's maybe Moose isn't really good at playing anybody else or anything. Maybe that's just what he wants to do, is just be an English Bobby.
So while Moose is on the street performing his policeman act, his English policeman act,
It's Bobby.
Yeah, the Bobby. He runs into two other buskers, Slim and Todd. Todd is performing what he calls illusionist street magic. And while he performs that, Slim goes around and pickpockets everyone watching. Pretty sure that's like an old medieval trick that people have been doing for a long time. Anyways, Todd's magic trick is him putting a nail through his nose and bleeding profusely.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, honestly. Yeah, I think later he says that it's magic, or it's magic, but it's all an illusion, which I would assume anyways, because you smash that through your nose. No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought he was actually doing it.
No, I think he says that later on in the movie, but I could be wrong. I think that's what I thought he said anyways. But yeah. So anyways, after Todd does his little performance and whatever, he may or may not have really smashed this through his nose. He meets up with Slim, and they sort of have a little bit of a fight. I guess Slim didn't pick enough pockets or something for him, and they kind of go their own separate ways. And then that's when Todd bumps into Moose, and Todd basically makes the proposition to him to become the new Slim. And Moose says, "Get the hell out of here. I'm not going to do this." And Todd, this is the thing. Todd and Slim in this movie are the most over the top bullies. They're like every character in a movie where every character plays over the top except for that girl Leah. These people, Todd and Slim, are way over the top.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as we're gonna see later on in the movie, like, oh my god, it's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And once again, their relationship with Moose here really isn't clear. They're both
yeah, that's true. How do they know? How do they know Moose? That doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea. I think the most we know is that they both perform on the same corner.
Yeah, I guess maybe he's just bumped into him a couple times, and so he's just, I imagine he's just the guy he bullies. He's probably stolen Moose's lunch money before, you know? But Moose is headed back to the collectible shop, and he's going to go meet Hunter Dunbar now, and he's really pumped up. So he's still kind of dressed like the English Bobby, but he's got the vest in his backpack. And he goes through the line. He's kind of sitting there, and there's a moment while he's standing in line where he just sees Hunter Dunbar, and there's just a light shining down on him. He's just sitting there at a desk. Throughout this movie, we're going to see it with that weird light being shone on Devon Sawa in this movie, and Moose goes in this weird world. You're going to see this a couple times in the movie, and it shows up. And these are Moose's daydreams. These are his fantasies. And there's going to be a couple interesting ones that come up later in this movie. So,
we haven't gotten to that one yet, though, right?
No, we have not gotten there yet. But it's just important to sort of set up, like, that's kind of what Moose does. He sort of daydreams.
Yeah,
and
he has these fantasies in his mind.
Yeah, and he sees Hunter Dunbar in this crazy light.
So Moose is he's the next person in line. He's just about ready to present his new vest and get an autograph from Dunbar. Dunbar is called out because his ex-wife is outside waiting for him. So he has to call the autograph section off and go out. So Dunbar goes to see his ex-wife. She's waiting outside in the alleyway in her car. And she's chastising him about putting off taking their son for another visit. Apparently, I think we're supposed to get the impression that he's a kind of an absentee father. Anyways, while that's going on, Moose followed him outside and approached him in the alleyway and was like, kind of just like, hey, Mr. Dunbar, I have a vest. And like, he kind of like turns around and pushes him off and whatnot. And anyways, his wife grows increasingly frustrated with him. And because of the tension that Moose is causing to talk, Dunbar also kind of is getting very frustrated. And his wife just drives off. Yeah, Moose comes in and he grabs Dunbar's shoulder and says, "Hey man, I'm on your side." Against his wife.
Yeah, and it's just like I through this movie, you're gonna see like Hunter Dunbar is completely unnecessarily over the top, like top tier level prick to Moose for no reason. I understand that he's having a problem with his wife and he's really upset, and obviously they've gone through a divorce or are going through a divorce or something, and they have a kid, and they're fighting with each other, and this guy's pestering him this whole time, and it's whatever. But you think he would just be like, "Hey man, let me just sign this real quick for you, get you out of here. Yeah. I gotta take care of something, bud. Thanks, have a good day." And then he could just turn around and had his conversation with her, you know. But he just starts walking back in, and Moose is just pestering him and just like, "Hey, I'm on your side," and then Hunter Dunbar turns around and just belts Moose and gives him one of those Elaine shoves from Seinfeld, and he just like shoves him like 10 feet across the place and just like, "See you later, bud."
Pushes him to the ground.
Yeah, shoves the door on him. And then this is what sends Moose into a bit of a tailspin, and he freaks out now. And he goes back to his apartment. I think it's his apartment. And he's crying now. And he's sort of just talking to himself again, but maybe going over the interaction and what he should have said or what he would have liked to have said to Hunter Dunbar.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something, Mr. Dunbar, Mr. Dummy Bar. You have not, I repeat, you have not made the best choices.
And the thing, and right after this scene, so he's yelling in his, I'm assuming he's in his apartment building. Yeah, he's in his apartment. Yeah. He's yelling, and we hear some voice from like down the hall go, hey, are you okay in there? And then Moose starts screaming, "No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not," and screaming. And then the scene just ends. I thought that something was like going to happen where this guy like is like, "Oh, gonna bust in the apartment just to make sure he's okay." And that was going to be some kind of thing. So he goes and meets Leah at a local cafe here. And yeah, he asked Leah, "How is it that you know where celebrities live?" And she's like, "Well, there is this app called Star Map where you can find where celebrities live in your area." And he's like, literally, well, a quote from him is, "Holy cow, Batman."
Yeah, and then so he downloads this app and starts going through it. And did you just let me ask you, did you catch any of the names that he was looking up through the app as he went through?
No, I didn't. Like when he was actually texting him in? No, I didn't see that.
Yes. So the names that come up, they're obviously completely fake names because they couldn't. I'm assuming he probably wouldn't want to put a fake address in a house out there and sticks like, Jack Nicholson's name on it or something like that, right? Because he'd probably get in trouble. But a couple of names I did see. One was Tyler Durden, so from Fight Club.
Okay.
There's also
Tyler Durden from Fight Club. Okay.
Also from Fight Club, which is I think even more of a deep cut, is Robert Paulson, right? His name is Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson. It was Meatloaf. Okay, right. Remember?
Yeah. Right.
Bitch Tits Bob.
Okay.
I think that's Robert Paulson.
Yeah.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Yeah, I think
that's
you're right.
that guy. And the other one was Jack Torrance, and he lives at 718 Overlook Avenue.
Like, so towards the end of their conversation, as John Travolta is looking through the star map, Leah says to him, you know, you got to be careful with this. I don't want you to get accused of stalking. And he says, what am I, an idiot? And it's like, okay, so from what, if Leah is actually concerned about him, she's already helped him sneak into a Hollywood party where he got kicked out of. And now she's so concerned about him being a stalker that she is giving him the method to find the home addresses of celebrities, specifically his favorite one, Hunter Dunbar.
Why would you do that? You know, if you can't trust him to go to a restaurant and just act normal and he gets kicked out and then he yells at you as he's getting kicked out, what makes you think that giving him the direct address to somebody's place is a good idea? You know, she should have just said, Moose, I just get lucky. I just walk around the street. Once Moose downloads this app, after that, we just sort of, this is what I mean when I say Fred Durst is a really shitty filmmaker. Like there's weird cuts. Like there's a scene where he's there downloading this app, and then we're just going to cut to a daydream in the middle now of a couch. And with the same weird light that was there in the first time, which is just kind of like a bad filter. And it's on him, and he's just reading a script now. And he's just daydreaming. And Hunter Dunbar, aka Devon Sawa, comes in and just starts talking to him.
Excuse me, Mr. Moose. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just a real big fan.
Well, I am pretty busy. But since you're a big fan, you can sit next to me. And since you're a big fan, I'll sign any amount of items that you have.
I'll sign 37 of them.
That's pretty good move. That's a pretty good moose, dude.
Yeah.
It's also weird that Devon Sawa like read the script and was like, okay, so now I'm gonna wear this Hawaiian shirt and I'm gonna walk up to him and say all this and be like, okay, this was great. You know, like I think anyone only signed on to this movie literally, other than John Travolta, just to work with John Travolta, just to have it on the resume.
Moose gets the address and he goes to Hunter Dunbar's place. But before he goes to Dunbar's house, he decides that he's going to write him a letter.
When Moose shows up to like give him this letter, and Hunter's just jogging with his kid and he tells his son to go inside. And again, this is a second interaction that Hunter has with Moose. And he is, again, this kind of makes a little more sense. Maybe we'll just play a clip here again just to show you how over the top Hunter Dunbar is to Moose.
What are you, some sort of freak autograph hound that won't leave me the fuck alone?
And then he just like shoves him again, I think, you know?
Yeah. And then he pretends like he's going to sign the autograph form, and Moose is all really happy. He takes the pen and he stabs Moose in the chest with the pen and proceeds to write his name on his chest while stabbing him with a pen.
Yeah, well, I think he just draws it really harshly on him in a really hard way to just sort of hurt him. Yeah, but it's really aggressive. You know, that's assault. Actually.
Yeah, it's mean. Like it's really there's points in this movie where it gets really mean spirited, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, anyways,
poor Moose. Yeah, so poor Moose saunters off, just bewildered and defeated once again, and then you know we kind of cut back to
we're back to more him playing in the street as a Bobby.
There's nothing really important that happens when Moose goes through his night, except when he comes back to the washroom to change for the end of the night. And that's where we see Todd and Slim one more time. And again, you know, this is John Travolta, and that they did this to him, and that I don't know if he agreed to this or they just improv it or what, but it's like, when I watched this, I was like, oh my God, that's John Travolta. So they just start saying the worst stuff. They start saying the worst shit to Moose, and then they start
just to give an idea of what's actually happening there. These two bullies are grabbing Moose by the head and making him basically
they're like mime assaulting, sexually assaulting Moose. It is like, and it's like, again, when they're doing this,
who's dressed as an English Bobby, by the way.
Yeah. And while this is going on in my head, I'm like, that is John Travolta. That man has an airport for a house. And I'm like, I can't believe this is going on. It's short circuiting my brain as we're talking about this and watching this. I don't know any other way to explain it. What is going on in this movie?
So now we have fantasy number 2. Hunter is fawning over Moose because they've switched roles in his fantasy. Moose is the big actor, and Hunter is the one looking for, there's being the fan and looking for an autograph or things like that. So, anyways, instead of continuously playing these clips over, we're going to do a reading right now. And in this case, I'm going to be Moose, and Paul will be Hunter. And here is the fantasy.
Look at this. The vest you wore in that big Moose movie.
How much did it cost you?
$300. It was everything I had.
That's not good. That's not good. I have to give you some money. I'm going to give you $1,800. Here's $1,800.
You are the greatest movie star ever.
You are the greatest fan ever. Do you want to be best friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
In scene. So Moose, again, since he showed up and had so much luck the first time with Hunter Dunbar, he thought it would be good to show back up again and give him, is this the same letter or is this another letter this time, Tim?
This is the same letter.
Okay, so he's got the same letter still, and he's just going to show up, and he really needs to give Hunter this letter, I guess. He's just going to keep showing up, even though twice now, first time he's been shoved for just, kind of being annoying, but it was way inappropriate. The second time he showed up there.
And the second time he was stabbed with a pen.
He got jabbed really hard with a pen. And now he still thinks it's a good idea to show up.
So he climbs over the fence and he's hiding amongst the bushes in the backyard, trying to be like really, really secretive. He hops over the fence. He kind of gets stuck a little bit, and he goes over to a plant in Hunter's backyard and wonders why Hunter doesn't look after his plants better. And then the maid sees him and he runs out of the yard. So back at the house, we see the housekeeper that saw Moose in the yard earlier tell Dunbar that, hey, there was a creepy man here earlier and kind of sketchy about that. You might want to watch out. And then he walks out through the yard and tells the gardener he should probably watch out for anyone coming around the yard. Just keep an eye out. And then right after he tells him to watch out, he sends him home early.
Well, no, I think the guy says, it's raining out. Can I head home and I'll come back tomorrow and finish up, right? So that's an important thing too, so we should highlight, there are groundskeepers around Hunter Dunbar's house, or at least there's one person that maintains the property. I think that's very important to highlight as well too, because once again, with Fred Durst at the helm writing this and his superior eye for continuity, we will find out later that it kind of doesn't make sense. But anyways, so at that point, once he tells the guy, hey, keep an eye out and then take the day off, he then hops into his car with his kid and drives out of there. And then that's when Moose thinks that it's a good idea to come back. So I think this is the same day, right? If you think about it.
I was wondering that. I think that he came back like an hour or two later.
Yeah, because earlier in the scene, the maid says, I saw somebody this afternoon. So as far as, to me, they're on the same day. So I don't know why he left, went to see Leah at the coffee shop, ran into the other guy, and then just was like, you know what? I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go give Hunter Dunbar a piece of my mind.
I think he might have gone back because he dropped his letter that he was going to give Dunbar. He dropped it when the maid scared him. So I think he was going back to retrieve it. So anyways, he hops over the fence again and he's hiding in the bushes. And I found this part kind of humorous. So
yes.
So he's hiding in the bushes, trying very hard to not be seen. And he's spying on the maid who walks out, and she finds the letter that he dropped earlier, and she picks it up. And he jumps out of the bushes and says, no, don't read it. Don't read it.
So wait. You just got a picture, while you say that, when in your
you
head.
You got to picture John Travolta hiding in the bushes.
Well, no, you got to picture John Travolta hiding in the bushes with a high and tight Billy Ray Cyrus mullet with weird glasses and a light blue Hawaiian shirt and a backpack, running out screaming this at the same time. Like it's and there's also this weird music playing too that's supposed to be sort of horrific, and the whole thing makes for like a weird disorienting kind of like what the hell am I watching kind of moment in this. And it's I guess it's supposed to be shocking, but I don't know what happens.
Prior to this, she was outside. The maid was outside with a duster, a handheld like carpet beater duster, fabric duster, and so she has that in her hand while she's startled when Moose jumps out and is like, "Don't read that." So he approaches her and she starts defending herself because she's startled and starts whacking him in the head with this rug duster thing. And then he just out of nowhere is like, "Stop it," swings his hand, smashes her in the face backwards. She falls, cracks her head, the back of her head on a concrete water fountain, and she's instantly out cold, probably dead.
It's always those are always painful scenes to watch in movies for me. Like anything with wrists or like people cracking their heads open, I always wince and go like, Jesus, it's just, I mean, that's one effective thing in this movie. Like, God, It's weird. So the way the buildup is, like, the music is increasingly intense, right to the point where he punches her and she falls and cracks her head, and then it's silence. And then he goes, "Oh no." And when I do this impression, this is not under exaggerating it or over exaggerating. This is verbatim what he sounds like. "Oh no, that does not look good. Oh no." And he gets down close. "That's a nosebleed. Oh, I've had a nosebleed before. Those are not good. I know what those are like. That's not good." And then he walks into the house and leaves her laying there. So Moose is in his house and he's wandering around. The first thing he does is grab these set of deer antlers and put them on his head and proceed to run around the house and say, "Moose is in the house. Moose is in the house. Get out of the way." Then he goes over to the piano and wants to do a little rendition of Great Balls of Fire. I guess so. Maybe that's what we'll call it. I'm assuming that's what he's trying to do.
You rock my head and you rattle my head. You rock it like I go to bed.
What the hell? Okay. What the hell is happening?
Once again, I hate to say it, but this man has an airport attached to his house.
I would love to know if Fred Durst wrote that scene and John Travolta is acting it the best he can, or if that was improv on John Travolta's part. I'd love to know what is going on in this scene. So from that point, right after he's done that, he goes to the bathroom. And while he's in the bathroom, he starts analyzing all the medications that Hunter Dunbar takes for insomnia. And he says, "Hunter, you should not be taking drugs." And then he picks up a toothbrush and smells a toothbrush, and he starts brushing his teeth with the toothbrush, which, by the way, we learned not too long after this, is actually Dunbar's little son's toothbrush.
Yeah, it's so gross and creepy. And then, you know what's weird too? He goes and then he picks up a handy cam, or he picks up a camcorder and starts going through videos of Hunter's personal, home videos. And I guess they were with his wife when they were together. So I'm assuming this movie is made in, like, it's set in present day when it was filmed. So 2019. And I'm guessing that it was because I think there's clips before they had their son, who is, I'm going to guess, maybe 10. So maybe 12. So I don't know what that is. Maybe 2007, 2009, in between there. Like, were people still using handy cams at this point?
I thought the exact same thing too. I was wondering, but I feel like people still do use those, like for vlogs and stuff. But
allegedly, he lives in like Beverly Hills or something, right? He's supposed to be a very famous actor. Why does he have a camera that's worth like $50 today? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's a shitty camera, but he's got it.
So, anyways, as he's doing this, Hunter Dunbar arrives home with his kid.
Yeah, and this is kind of weird too. So, what is this movie trying to be? Is this movie a horror movie? Is it a thriller? Is it a drama? Is it like a character profile? It's weird because they're trying to do so many things here. Like, after he's going through his house, and it's this weird comical stuff is going on. and it's really invasive. He just, Hunter shows up, and now Moose is kind of hiding in his place, and it's set up to be kind of weird and creepy. Like he's just watching him through the closet and stuff. And there's like a shot too where you see where he turns the light off in one room, and then Moose kind of like sneaks out, and you see him moving in the back, and it's like it's supposed to be ominous and creepy, but I mean, we just saw Moose also.
There's nothing there. Yeah.
Yeah, we also just saw Moose do Great Balls of Fire and use a kid's toothbrush. So like, is it a drama piece? Is this comedy? What the hell is going on here?
While he's hiding from Dunbar, Moose is in a closet, I think, and we are treated to another fantasy.
Is that a Moose script?
Yeah, but it's not good. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to call my manager now and tell him I'm not going to do it.
You shouldn't do it. You should only do good stuff. Big action films. Best of the best, Moose.
You're my best friend. Do you want to do a movie with me?
Moose and Hunter Dunbar?
Yeah, we'll do good movies. End scene. Then Dunbar goes downstairs to sleep after he tucks his kid into bed. He goes downstairs and takes a whole bunch of his sleeping pills and drinks a few beer, and he is out cold.
No, he's got one beer beside him. There's not like 20 beers. Well, I guess sorry, there's 2 beers there, to be fair. But
Yes,
it's not like it's like a 2-6 or anything. He's got 2 beers. And then he just kind of he takes like, I guess, an Ativan or a Xanax or something, and that's it. Nods off in front of the TV.
Yeah, he's gone. So here we are again, and we've got Moose. Moose creeps into the living room while Hunter Dunbar is sleeping. And I made another list.
Okay, go ahead. Hit me with this list. What is this? Wait, what is this list of?
Oh, this is the stuff that he does to Dunbar while he's sleeping.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So first he comes in and he sits beside Dunbar while he's sleeping, and he just rocks very intensely, smiling from ear to ear and just rocking. And then he gets up and he takes a selfie with the passed out Dunbar. And he drops it on Dunbar. He drops the phone accidentally on Dunbar's chest, but he wakes up and kind of is like, and saunters back to sleep. And then he takes a blanket and he tucks Dunbar in. He wraps a blanket around him and helps him get a nice comfy sleep. Then, this is my favorite part. Moose bends over and sticks his finger in his ear and pulls it out and smells it and tastes it.
Oh,
What?
oh my God. Why?
Why is this happening? And the weird thing about this whole scene too is like, so he's asleep. Dunbar is asleep. He never finds out that this is even going on. Why is this even in the movie? Like, why in the hell did I just watch that?
I think I could tell you, but first, can I just say again, when he licked that ear cheese, just keep in mind, John Travolta has an airport attached to his house. Okay. But and he decided that he would do this, and he thought this was a compelling, interesting character. But I will say, I think the reason that they show this and with the pills and the 2 beers that he has, he's a teetotaler. It's to show you, at least to set up later on, I guess, that Hunter Dunbar is a heavy sleeper. Not to give anything away. So once Moose takes off down the street, Hunter wakes up out of his little, whatever, drunken pill slumber or something. And he gets up with his son, and I guess he's going to drive his kid to school now or whatever. He's driving his kid somewhere. I guess that's the point. So once he drives down the street, he ends up seeing Moose, or at least he sees his backpack and the Hawaiian shirt and recognizes that it is indeed Moose that's there. Instead of just like leaving him alone, he almost runs the guy over.
I thought he was in this movie. I thought that he was going to run him right over, and I was like, "Oh my God, is he going to run him over with his son in the car too?" Like,
yeah, that's what it kind of seemed like. Because then he just drives up on him and just slams the brakes at the last second, and then gets out and just screams at him, and just like verbally accosts him again and tells him to get the hell out of there. And doesn't want to see him, and he calls him a stalker.
Completely destroys his spirits. But in actuality, he is a complete stalker.
He is though. But Moose freaks out and goes like, "I am not a stalker," And then he just
This is
kind of
right after he just got done eating his earwax and like using his toothbrush and everything. He screams at him, "I'm not a stalker."
yeah, right. And that's it. And then Moose goes home and he just goes, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna burn all your stuff in effigy of you, and that's it. And I'm just gonna disown you as a fan. So, and I guess this is basically the last thing that happens before our big climax in the movie, and it's. I don't know. There's so much stuff in here that we could have just cut through that we didn't need, or they could have character built certain people in different ways. There's like 6 minutes of him just burning stuff down with Moose and freaking out.
Okay, yeah. And then after that, he meets with Leah, who is confronting him about the images that he's been posting on Instagram. Because so those selfies that he took of him beside a sleeping Hunter Dunbar, he posted them on Instagram. And she's like, buddy, you're committing felonies. Like, you're posting your crimes to the world to see. And he's like, you don't support me. Get out of here. Get out. And closes the door on her. But not before blocking her from all of his social media accounts. But yes, that's so
How
much.
did she not see any of this coming at this point? You know what I mean? Like, and
She gave him the methods of how to do all this stuff. She's the one who gave him showed him how to get the address, got him into these parties.
I don't know. I mean, that's another one of these. I mean, it's Fred Durst writing this, so I don't know what we really expected. You know what? I think, Tim, he did it all for the nookie. That's what I think. Okay, so once this happens and he blocks Leah, we just kind of cut to waking up at Hunter Dunbar's house.
Okay, we wake up. We are above the bed of Hunter Dunbar, slowly zooming out. He is gagged and tied to his bed
For no reason at all.
No build up to it. We just go there and he is just tied to his bed and it's nighttime.
There's no, they don't show you Moose coming back. We don't get an explanation for, we don't even know at this point why he's tied up or why he's gagged. You don't see anything other than he's just panning out and there is Hunter Dunbar for some reason, inexplicably, with like a paper towel in his mouth.
He looks over to his right on the floor and he sees a motionless moose laying. That sounded weird the way I said that, like as if there was an actual moose laying on the floor, a motionless moose. John Travolta is laying on the floor and there is blood sprawled all around his head. And you're like, I am wondering what the hell happened. And obviously Hunter Dunbar is as well. And he looks over and he goes, oh my God, you fucking psycho. What did you do? And he starts losing his mind. And then he gets out of nowhere. Moose just starts giggling on the floor, giggling to himself because he can't control the laughter at fooling Dunbar in this situation. And he starts mocking him. Ha ha ha, I fooled the great Hunter Dunbar.
And he said, he said you've been jigsawed.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so weird. And then he just disappears and he comes back now and he's dressed like Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 4. And he's got a machete. No, it's a Michael Myers knife. Yeah, it's a Michael Myers knife. And he's kind of dressed like Michael Myers. And he just goes out and he like actually kind of stabbed him, I guess.
Well, he scared the shit out of him. He thought it was a real Hunter, tied on the bed, thought it was a real knife and was freaking out until he stabbed him and it was a prop knife.
Was it a prop knife? Because I thought he's actually stabbed. Like, because I thought it was a fake stab too. But then I'm pretty sure he's like you stabbed me, and he's got blood on his shirt though.
It's a knife that retracts.
No, because Moose says, "Did I cut you?" And he goes, "Holy crap!" And he looks and he actually. So that's what I mean. Because this is why this filmmaking makes no sense, dude. Because you would think it's a prop knife, and you would think that it's just like a dull knife, but he actually stabbed him with this knife. I think it was a real knife. And Moose just thought it was a prop knife. And Moose just doesn't realize it. Because if Moose has a bag of props and stuff, why would Moose not have a trick knife? Why would he go and grab a real knife? Like, what the hell? And then he actually stabbed him.
And then after he stabs him, he dips his finger in his blood to make sure it's blood and tastes it.
Oh, God.
I want to talk about because we're pretty much approaching the end right now. So where this movie goes through here, like as if this movie wasn't ridiculous enough for me, this is where it really goes into areas where I was like, whoa, I didn't see it actually going in this direction. Basically, Hunter Dunbar is pleading for his life with Moose to untie him and let him live. Moose isn't actually giving him any ultimatums or options as to what to do. He's just tied up, and Moose isn't saying, hey, like, if you do this, I'll untie you. He's just ranting about the snacks that he has in his fridge, that Moose doesn't like the snacks that Hunter Dunbar is keeping in his fridge, and he needs to keep better snacks like ice cream.
Yeah, so then after Moose terrorizes Hunter Dunbar, he just kind of walks downstairs and has a fantasy about what? Sign autographs?
He has a fantasy where it's Hunter Dunbar signing autographs, and he asks Moose if he would like to have an autograph.
And then there's a lot of shit that happens here, so we don't need to go over it. But for the most part, Hunter is now just trying to reason with Moose and just say, look, man, it's all good. It's no big deal. Just let me go. It's no problem.
Yeah. And he was almost going to until Dunbar said, whatever you do, just don't hurt my kid. And then Moose proceeds to lose his mind again. Is like, why would you say that? You think I would hurt a kid? You think I came here to hurt your kid?
Yeah. Meanwhile, he just like stabbed him and like sprayed him with, I guess, water. But then he broke into his house and completely violated his privacy and stalked him to no end. And he's like, surprised. He's like,
he doesn't even know the extent that it actually is that he's actually violated his life. Yeah. So Hunter Dunbar convinces Moose to play an acting game with him where they imagine scenes, and then that's what helps get them into the acting mode. So he starts envisioning a scene with Moose. They both close their eyes, and Moose cuddles right next to Dunbar, tied to the bed. And they start talking about going out for supper and having ice cream, and then just coming home and watching all the best action flicks starring Dunbar. and Moose is so into this. He goes, yeah, let's do that. And then Dunbar says, all you gotta do is just untie these knots, Moose. And so Moose unties a knot.
So once Moose frees up one of Hunter's hands, he basically headbutts Moose in the face, and that knocks Moose back. And then he pulls out a shotgun that I guess he has hidden behind his pillow. And then he blows Moose's fingers right off.
He shoots his hand. He puts like 3 feet away from his hand and shoots his hand off with the shotgun. Well, his fingers anyways. And then Moose crawls out of the room and is trying to crawl down the steps. And then Dunbar kicks him down the steps, where he falls brutally down the steps. Then when he's at the bottom of the steps, Dunbar shoots him in the ear, and then I think he shoots him near both ears, deafening him, but one of the shots are obviously very close to his head. Dunbar then takes a knife and stabs Moose in his right eye. And I would say like a solid 4 inches in. Like you would think that was a kill shot.
Yeah, you would have scrambled this man's brains.
Yeah, God. So now we have John Travolta, Moose, laying on the floor, absolutely screaming in agony, hands waving around. One of his hands is just spewing blood because there's no fingers on the end of it. And the whole right side of his face is kind of fucking bloodied mess, and his eye is fucking gouged out. And then Hunter Dunbar helps Moose to his feet and walks him to the door and helps him out.
Just like, all right, you learned your lesson, dude. I stabbed you in the eye now. Go on your way.
Yeah. So that all happened. We'll give our reactions after. That all happened, because let's get to the end of this. That all happened. Okay. Moose is walking down the street in broad daylight now. It's the AM hours, early morning, daylight out. And he's bloodied. His hand is a mess. His face is a mess. He's bleeding out of his eye, his ears. And people are coming up to him to take pictures because they think that he's like a Hollywood prop.
Yeah, that was a pretty good touch, I think, by Fred. That's actually one point I think was pretty smart.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. One of the very few good ideas in this movie. Yes.
2 moments in this movie that were good.
And I'll tell you, that was a brief 5-second moment. Anyways. So that happens. He keeps on walking. Leah comes up to him and is like, oh my God, Moose, what happened? Can I help you? And then she goes, I'm going to help you. And they walk off and they're gone.
While that's going on, we cut back to the house where Hunter Dunbar is at his house, sitting on the floor. And some cops show up to arrest him. And they show the maid in the backyard bloodied. And right now, Dunbar is all bloodied himself from the encounter that he just had with Moose. So the cops arrest Dunbar on suspicion for killing his maid.
And the gardener's there too. And here's the thing: when the DNA comes out, they'll see that he actually hasn't murdered the maid. He almost murdered Moose.
There's also the fact too that Moose posted all of this stuff on his Instagram account, so it's not like it'll be a hard story to verify.
No, but yeah, you could say that maybe Hunter overreacted a little bit.
I'm so glad we're at the end of this now, so we can just fucking talk about this.
You know what was interesting about the ending? So how many days has it been between since Moose knocked that lady out to this point now? Has it been like just one day? Because
I have to assume that it's been one day. She's just been out in the backyard for a day or two.
Like, how long did Moose kidnap Hunter for? Because it was like the nighttime, and then it then seemed like it was the daytime the next day.
I wonder if that was all. Maybe that was all in one day, and then it happened overnight.
I really feel like there was a day where Moose showed up and didn't kill the maid, and then he came back the next day. Then everything took place through the night and the next day. So I think it's been a day between the gardener showing up now. But that's what I mean. Like, no one saw the body laying around. Like no one else saw the body laying around. Like that's a big neighborhood. It's a rich neighborhood. You don't think people walk around and stuff?
According to Leah, there's paparazzi taking pictures of all the backyards.
Exactly.
You think that somebody might have noticed that body laying back there?
That's crazy to me. It's like, where was the gardener? He's gonna take off the next day, and not even that. What about Hunter? How did Hunter not even notice?
We got to talk about this end. It was really upsetting. Like, this movie was hard to get through, like, as it was,
To say the least.
Yeah, like, it did not make me feel good. I felt uncomfortable and awkward for the story that was being told, as well as the actors tried to portray the story. Nothing about this felt good and positive or any way. I mean, because there's a lot of movies out there that make you feel sad, but they're still really good movies. This movie makes you feel sad, and it doesn't make you feel good at all for people even watching it. And if that wasn't, that's how I felt halfway through the movie. When we got near the end, and he tied up the actor, he tied up Hunter Dunbar, and the revenge that Hunter Dunbar took on Moose was insane. And it really bothered me a bit, because it was just like, okay, this Moose guy, he's obviously painted as a very sympathetic character, I think.
Sometimes, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, but he's obviously someone who's mentally challenged. So you tend to think, okay, give him a little bit of a more leeway than what you would a lot of people in the same situations. Not that it makes him being a stalker any better or anything, but the hate that was brought upon him at the end of it was like, whoa. I was just like, wow, that really caught me off guard.
Yeah, you could have just like, because he only got one hand untied too, right? He could have just like, presumably Moose could have come back and just killed him, like attacked him or something.
Yeah, they could have just had a bloody fight where a Dunbar called 911 at the very end of it, the very last breath or something. Yeah,
he could have just got like his hand free and his legs free and be like, all right, thanks, buddy, and then pull the gun on him and like, listen, dude, get out of my house. This is it, Or he could have said, hey, like, you stay in the washroom, I'm gonna lock you in there, I'm calling the cops. Could have been a non-violent solution to this whole thing.
Yeah, it was awful. I felt it was like, there's certain things that people just don't want to see. And can't put it any other way than, I don't want to watch a person who is mentally or physically challenged take a severe beating in a story that doesn't have a story that backs it up in some kind of a way where I maybe feel something. I don't know how much better I can put that, right? I mean,
it was crazy. He got stabbed in the eye and presumably the brain. That's insane. Like, oh, that's messed up for life.
It got so mean-spirited at the very end. I was just like, wow, did we really need to, did I need that for this movie? Like, for whatever the fuck this was supposed to be from the begin with? Did I need that? What do you think about Hollywood actors portraying crazy fans?
I think it's an interesting angle. And I do know that this character Moose is based on a real life encounter that Fred Durst had.
So now I get to hear about this.
When I watched this movie, when I got to the end of this the first time, I thought there's more to this movie than what's going on here, you know? When you try to find out stuff about movies, you go on like, when we're trying to research movies and stuff, we go on like IMDb or the Wikipedia page and look at the production notes and just kind of get a feel for what's going on with this. And there wasn't really anything I could find other than it just bombed at the box office. And I knew that there was more of a story here than I could find. So I started scouring the internet and I found a couple things. So one of the things I found was a Q&A from, I guess it's the movie premiere at the Egyptian Theater. And so Fred kind of talked about it a little bit, and he explained to everybody sort of what the inspiration was to the movie.
Okay.
And so maybe we'll let Fred explain what's going on.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear this.
Years ago, I met an autograph collector who wanted an autograph from me. He was a waiter of mine. He was a waiter at a place I visited all the time, and I didn't know he collected autographs, and he didn't know I was Fred from Limp Bizkit. So he's just the waiter that I liked. And then after a while, someone had maybe told him I was the guy from Limp Bizkit. And so one day he comes up to me and he unbuttons his shirt at work, and he has a Limp Bizkit shirt on. He's like, "Can I get an autograph?" And so he kind of inspired this whole thought of, what it would be like, if when you befriend somebody like that, what would be the bad scenario? And
Okay.
So just in case anyone had a hard time hearing that, basically the idea was that he was in a restaurant somewhere and the waiter came up to him and realized that he was in Limp Bizkit, and he sort of unbuttoned his shirt and he had a Limp Bizkit t-shirt underneath it, and he asked him to autograph it. And so I guess Fred thought, like, what if I sort of maybe had this person in my life as maybe a friend, or they just were, an obsessive fan, and they were just, always kind of around you. So that was kind of the idea for the movie. So it was just an overzealous autograph collector.
So there's a lot of, I still feel like that's quite a leap to where we ended up. Because like, he wasn't like.
So, well, this is where I got to explain a lot of stuff.
Okay.
This is what I mean. This is where I got this from. Okay. So John Travolta is going to explain to everybody the thought process that he put into developing the character Moose.
Oh, excellent. You have John Travolta explaining this? Oh, perfect. Good.
Now, how do you make a character like that do the things he gets away with on screen and ultimately doesn't get away with? Is that you have to put him on a spectrum of some sort to justify the drama, the thrill, and the horror.
Okay. Wow, I don't know how I feel about that.
There you go. John Travolta thought that the only way you could justify the motivation for this character, which is based on a totally real life person, or at least to justify, I guess, what he does later on, and maybe not just rework some of Fred Durst's shitty script, was to put Moose on the spectrum.
So, okay, so just let me understand. Am I understanding this correctly? That this script was written with Moose as a regular person without mental challenges?
Here's the thing. Before they made this movie, it existed as a script for about 10 to 12 years.
Oh my God.
That's how long. So at the beginning, when I told you there was about 6 movies that financed this thing, it took 12 years to get made. Yeah. There's a big red flags with this. And they even say, one of the financiers said, like, no one wants to see this movie. And John Travolta was like, yeah, that's why I want to do it.
Okay, so Fred Durst didn't write this.
He co-wrote this with somebody. So he's had the character of Moose developed for 12 years. And then John Travolta showed up and just decided that he was going to put Moose on the spectrum. At that point, to me, it completely changes all of your dialogue, all of your interactions with the characters and the relationships and what you're trying to convey as this guy being a stalker, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't think this would have been the same as if he was just an obsessive fan, It's things like that where I'm like, when you find out that John Travolta decided to make this guy whatever, it just changes everything that happens in this movie, as to what Fred Durst wrote on paper. There's clearly problems with the script, but Yeah, I mean, like you have to have some sympathy because it seems like John Travolta just completely changed his stuff up.
Yeah. Wow. And you have to wonder, like, I guess we'll never really know, but like, what decisions were for better or for worse, right? Like, what would I'm not sure what I'd like to know what we would have ended up with. Maybe he can do, like, you know how Zack Snyder's doing the Snyder cut. Maybe we can see a Durst. No, I won't fucking watch it. Never mind. What am I talking about? I will never watch this again.
Let me ask you, if you had to guess, now that you know some of the choices that JT made in this movie, who do you think wrote the line, "Can't talk, gotta poo"?
I feel like that's John Travolta. He spoke it from the heart. He wrote that.
Well, let's find out.
Oh my God.
But the first day, the first scene of the movie is my coming in with a red t-shirt into the shop, and I thought, I'm just going to tell him I have to poo. And I can't stay too long.
That was not scripted.
Not scripted. But everybody at that moment said, oh, we're doing that kind of movie. We knew because you allowed it.
Oh my God. Wow.
So you hear that? We're doing that kind of movie. It's like, yeah, no shit, you're doing that kind of movie. This John Travolta is the entire reason this movie, other than the basic outline of this, he is the entire reason this script and the way he looks, it's all John Travolta.
That makes sense.
He just walked in and was like, I'm just going to say I have to poo and I can't stay long. That was his big idea. In this Q&A, he talks about stuff. Fred said basically, like, he was staying in character as Moose the whole time. And he'd go to him and say, all right, Moose, you ready? And say, okay, watch this. And then he would go out and do some stuff. Apparently, he rapped LL Cool J at one point and did Pennywise the Clown. And they thought that they couldn't use it because they're going to get sued or something.
Oh my gosh. Now, so how awesome. Wouldn't I just love to be walking in LA someday and just see John Travolta in that Bobby costume,
Poppycock,
pandering around?
Poppycock.
I would love it. I would.
Yes. Well, if you look at it, there's a shot where someone gets in the back and takes a selfie with Moose. So it's like, was that a real shot? Or was that someone being like, this is John Travolta dressed up as a Bobby. I'm gonna take a picture.
How Danny Zuko has fallen.
Hold on. There's still more I gotta tell you about.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes, there's still more.
Okay, this is good. All right, great. Excellent.
So when we watched this movie, you saw there was no scene in there where Fred Durst band Limp Bizkit plays, right?
No.
Do you ever remember seeing anything about that?
What, that there would be, you mean like seeing any of the band play at all, or?
I found a clip online that it was probably deleted from the movie for very obvious reasons once we go over this here. So just to set the scene up here, Hunter Dunbar is driving down the street with his son and he's going to put some music on the radio.
You okay with some music? You like a little Limp Biscuit?
Sure.
You like a little biscuit?
Yeah.
Yeah? Nice and loud? I used to listen to this back in the day. This is hot. Oh my God, that is nice. That is nice.
That is a real scene.
Does he not even like know what his own fans are even like? Oh yeah, that's what I will say honestly. I don't hear too many of Limp Bizkit fans these days, but I don't recall any of them ever being like, "Oh yeah, Limp Bizkit is nice. That is so good. Yeah, that is smooth." Like the way you talk about some kind of fine jazz or something.
He goes, "You like a little biscuit?
Yeah, you like a little biscuit, son? Yeah, son, you want a little biscuit? Yeah, that is nice." Weird.
Like, can you believe that? Like, I don't know if Fred wrote that.
Oh, of course he did.
Why would you do that? Why would you think that's acceptable to put in your movie?
There's only two possible explanations. Either Fred Durst wrote it or Devon Sawa was this like, hey, I'm going to make a joke right now.
Here's the point. When I found this, sometimes when I go on YouTube, or I go online, I like to read the comments. Because I'm interested to see what people say, and sometimes it's just like batshit crazy, or there's something interesting, and you kind of go down like a little bit of a rabbit hole. I saw this comment on there. It was one comment, and it was posted probably about 10 times, but it was from different profiles. So I'm gonna read this whole thing here, and you're gonna have to bear with me here because the punctuation is crazy, and it looks like it's written by a crazy person, but I'm gonna try my best to make it through here, and I'm gonna read you what I found. Greetings. I'm Michael Mutsatzos. I am Moose. I wrote this original story with Fred Durst 12 years ago. I did the autograph collecting for 10 years as a side gig. I wrote Moose titled Mr. Moose Has a Weapon. As an overzealous fan, not a man-child. They cut me out of a part I had in the film, as well as any type of based upon or inspired by. No credit given. To distance themselves, they are saying Spectre man-child Travolta in Florida says autistic. All lies. My photo did appear at the cut I saw. A reviewer mentions the photo. I am seeing it next week to see if my photo is still here. I did not want folks to think I'm this crazy person. Not true, more lies. Fred Durst, in all caps, did not write this for John Travolta. We, all caps, over the years, filmed little scenes from the script at Fred's different homes. This was going to be a small $300,000 indie film like Halloween. Fred Durst and me and Moose. Over the years, other stars were attached to play Moose and the Hunter Dunbar character. I want the truth out there. Thank you, Michael Moussatzos.
Well, the one thing I guess there's a couple things to unpack there. One, I guess we can't say for sure whether that's actually real or not, but let's just pretend that it is. Okay. If that is real, why would you, like, if that's such a poor representation of who you are, why would you draw more attention to the fact that you are the person that it's based upon?
I'm glad you asked that question, Tim. So when I saw this, I was like, what the hell is this? Who the hell is this? So, you know what I did? I punched this guy's name into the internets. And guess what? I came up with some stuff. He exists in real life. This is a real person.
Oh my God, really?
At least, maybe he didn't write this, okay? I'm not going to say this guy wrote this. So this is all alleged, whatever this guy wrote here. So maybe he didn't write this. But there is a real Michael Moussatzos that collects autographs, okay? And guess what? I found some clips of him on the internets as well, too, okay? And so he was being interviewed for, I guess what...
Oh my gosh, wow. Okay. This is so... I'm impressed that you found this much stuff. This is really good.
It's crazy, right? That's why I'm like, there's so much more here that's going on here that I just don't know what... Like, I know there's something here. And so they went to... I guess this is West Hollywood Public Access TV, and it's a show that was apparently called My WeHo World. Okay, that's what it was called. All right, and then they play. So you know what? Maybe I'll play you a clip from this, and you can just see Michael. You can listen to Michael Moussatzos. Okay.
So anyhow, Michael, I have to describe you as the autograph guru of that voodoo that you do so well,
exactly.
of West Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Now, you are a waiter at Silver Spoon.
I'm a waiter at the Silver Spoon for the past 19 years.
For 19 years. Yeah. And David is your videographer? Or what would be, how did you guys meet? Why don't you bleed us into this?
First, I'd like to say that he's my partner.
He's your partner?
He's my partner, not just my videographer. He's my partner.
Okay, that's clarified.
Yeah.
All right.
And my partner in the documentary.
How did you get started?
I basically got started about 4 years ago. Some friends of mine that were photographers basically asked me if I was ever interested in autograph collecting, and I never even knew that anything existed.
Well, he sounds a lot nicer than the Moose that we know.
Yeah, so, sorry, that weird music that's playing in the background with the other clip too, that's from another show inside of this show. So he showed up to this public, I gotta explain this. He showed up to this public access TV show with these two guys, and he's got a friend with him that explains they were doing a movie on this guy Michael Moussatzos at the time. This is like early 2000s. I'm gonna say they were trying to film a movie. You should just we should just post the link to it, and so people can see it. It's on YouTube, and it's just like you gotta watch this guy, because it's a video of him being interviewed on this TV show, explaining that he's gonna be doing a movie about this autograph collecting. That was his idea, I guess, with his friend. And on the show too, they bring on a clip from this other show that he's on, and it's like this clip of this show is like 20 minutes long, and the clip they play in the show is like 7 minutes, and there's weird music that goes on, and it's like a full show within the show that they play on this public access cable TV show. And so he's a real person, and this guy actually makes, at least as far as I know, he's got movies that he makes online, and there's like some he's posted little small movies on YouTube. They're mostly horror movies, and then he's got like a little movie company or something. He makes a bunch of horror movies, and yeah, and I watched a clip from them. I'm not gonna, I personally, it's not my cup of tea, we'll say, and but I appreciate his spirit, we'll say. And so that's basically all I could find. And I checked everywhere else. I found a Twitter that apparently could be his. And I went back to see what around the release date, if he had reacted to it or not. And he also he didn't post anything about the movie, or maybe if he did, he deleted anything. But he posted a movie clip, or it was a clip of a TV show. It was a pilot for a TV show that Fred Durst was trying to get made called Douchebag.
Oh,
yeah. And
wow.
And guess,
so this sounds legit.
And then guess what? The same guy that's in the public access TV show, his name is Moose. He shows up in this trailer for this Douchebag show as a waiter, and they call him Moose.
Wow. So I'm amazed that Fred Durst didn't just come up with this on his own. Wow. So like, oh my gosh. I just realized what the biggest problem is that he went so far into accentuating the spectrum or the disabilities that Moose has, that took, it just kind of was distracting from the actual movie and what was going on.
Yeah, well, I honestly feel like John Travolta totally hijacked this movie and made it.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sure, like, you know what? I watched this movie and I mean, like the writing in it, the whole thing, it just seemed like a disaster in the first place. But I think
it does. But honestly, after hearing everything that you said, I think Fred Durst may have had a decent idea here.
You know what? Honestly, I think it was kind of like a dumpster, and then John Travolta came by and then set fire to the dumpster. I think that's the best way you could say what happened. I don't know. I mean, maybe there was a good script in here. I don't know, but I don't. Here's why I don't think so. Because you just watch this whole movie. Even the stuff that has nothing to do with Moose, this is the Hunter Dunbar stuff, how paper thin the whole thing is. He didn't go and create them. So here's the other thing I forgot. Maybe because stuff's coming back to me as we're talking about this now. Do you know how many days they spent to shoot this movie?
I'm gonna guess. Okay, you know one thing I noticed? I noticed that every time he was outside on his moped driving, it was on the exact same street, the same block. Like I saw like the McDonald's place that was like right on that block, like probably 4 or 5 times in the movie. Yeah, so I want to say that they might have filmed all of that over the course of I hate even saying weeks.
If you had to guess how many days, just put a number on it.
I'm gonna say it took 60 days.
No, it took they had 18 days. 18.
Wow. Okay, that makes more sense.
They shot this entire movie in 18 days. That is what they said. And you know, so and you know what's crazier to think about this? You know what they call the third act, which is really about 15 minutes of the end of this movie. You know how many days that took to film? 5 days. Almost a third of their shooting schedule was Moose coming out in a couple of costumes and some fake blood. Then some special effects and him getting kicked down the stairs and getting stabbed. Like, I mean, maybe the special effects would take a day or two to do up, but like the other stuff, I feel like you could have banged that out in a day.
How much money do you think John Travolta got paid?
He probably got paid. I mean, look, again, he has an airport attached to his house. That's very expensive. So I imagine most of that $18 million budget went to John Travolta.
I would think he could charge $1 million, probably.
Oh my God!
I don't know.
He's
John Travolta.
But you know what though? The thing is he said he really liked the script. He really believed in the script. He says this in the Q&A. Like, people have to go listen to it. He actually thought this all was going to work for him. This was a good idea.
You are changing my view. My views have rapidly changed on this movie since you just informed me of all of this background stuff.
Maybe it's not good, but it's I didn't want to tell you right away because
I'm glad to know now. Like, I feel better having watched it and being so grossed out. At least there was good intentions, I guess. Which is, that's one of my fond things about the bad movies. The best ones are the ones that are made with good intentions. I don't know what the intentions fucking were, but they had an idea to make a movie. They wanted to make a good movie. They all thought they were doing it right.
I mean, they believed in themselves. At least we can. That is one thing that you can say. Everybody in this movie absolutely believed in themselves.
They absolutely did. They took it seriously, as sort of whatever as seriously as they could with the script. I don't know, right? John Travolta took some liberties, got creative. They all had their little spin on how to make this movie work, be a box office smash. Weekend of $3,000. That's not so bad.
That's basically all I could find from this movie. Unfortunately, I don't know. So there was no real resolve with this. I wish I could have found out more about Moose, or I mean, like he's at least from what I've seen, you know, there is. I'm assuming the person is still out there making movies and staying active. But as far as any other comments about the Fanatic, unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. I really wanted to keep going down this rabbit hole because
that's a lot. That's a lot right there, man. That's good.
It was just the whole YouTube comment to me was so weird that like someone would just put this, and honestly, I'm telling you, it was like 7 to 10 accounts that were just different accounts that all copied the same thing. So it's like, did this person make burner accounts, or did they did a bunch of people just post it for fun or something? But like, and then also too, if you go on, I went on to like, I just Googled, you know, the Fanatic and Fred Durst and stuff, and I would find articles on it, and then the comment sections on like random newspaper articles, I would see this same comment posted on there or something akin to this. It was really, it's kind of weird, man. And that to me is a little creepy, you know. So I wish I could have found more, but I didn't. So I think that's it anyways for this episode. We've covered a lot of ground in this, and I don't think we need to say any more about this movie because it is what it is.
Well, I do have a few more things I'd like to say about this movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I gotta poop, so